Well, Richard, I wish you the best in your trip to space tomorrow. Thanks, Elon. When I get back, I might take you up on that interesting idea you presented. Hello, thank you for joining us today at Spaceport America for this exciting new announcement I'm thrilled to share with Elon Musk. Yeah, it's really great. Both the Virgin Galactic and SpaceX teams are thrilled to announce the VSS Voyager, the first of the Virgin Galactic Starship fleet, built by SpaceX but owned and operated by Virgin Galactic for an amazing new orbital experience for our wonderful paying passengers. That's right. Virgin can deal with the people. SpaceX will, focus on operating as a rocket and a spacecraft manufacturer. Mars is our top priority, and selling a few starships will help accelerate this mission. Yes, and our customers will have the option to fly on our spaceships, which ticket sales are coming down, and you could spend a little bit more for our luxurious cruise around this beautiful Earth and just look out those beautiful windows at this wonderful Earth below.
Hopefully you liked that introduction and found it more entertaining than annoying. I wanted to use it to convey a hypothetical scenario that I believe could happen in the near future. I'm sure I already have some confused viewers. Why would I think Elon Musk would partner with Richard Branson? SpaceX is intended to make life multiplanetary by getting humans to Mars, and Virgin Galactic is just selling joyrides to the edge of space. They are two completely different companies with two different goals. But when I saw the photo of Musk showing his support for Branson right before the Unity 22 flight, an interesting idea crossed my mind. What kind of conversations do you think they had? Do you think they talked of new ideas in both air and space travel? Do you think they were making plans for something bigger, combining both of their companies? Before we get too far into this video, please subscribe if you want to have more access to new content. And please like and share if you found this video valuable. Now, let's get started. Partnerships in business are not rare. That includes the space industry. Blue Origin, Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, and Draper all joined up to create the national team that aims to build a lunar lander. Orbital Science merged with ATK to create Orbital ATK, which was later acquired by Northrop Grumman. And of course, Boeing and Lockheed Martin created the joint venture known as United Launch Alliance. It is not uncommon for two companies to team up to work on a single project. They can both offer their own expertise, talent, capital, or other resources to help contribute towards a specific goal. SpaceX has followed a lone wolf approach for most of the company's history, which begs the question, why would they ever want to change? First, we need to understand the history of recent spaceflight events, and then I can explain my reasons for why a Virgin Galactic SpaceX partnership could be beneficial and what both companies have to gain from it. The space tourism business continues to grow, and we watched a space race unfold this summer. Richard Branson may have beaten Jeff Bezos to space, but this race is far from over. Virgin Galactic and Blue Origin will now compete for their share of the space tourism market. I see both companies growing, and wealthy customers will pay for these thrilling, quick trips to suborbital space. There will be high demand for space tourism, but for how long will suborbital space travel be popular? The actual space experience these companies offer only lasts for a few minutes, and prices can range between $250,000 to over $1 million depending on whether you want to fly on a Virgin Galactic Spaceship 2 or on a Blue Origin New Shepard rocket. At some point, one of these companies or another competitor will want to scale up and provide an improved experience that can take passengers to orbit. That offers the capability of staying longer in space. Blue Origin and Virgin Galactic aren't the only ones in the space tourism business. SpaceX has several upcoming missions for paying passengers. Billionaire and CEO Shift for Payments Jared Isaacman has paid for a flight on board a Falcon 9 Dragon spacecraft to send him and three others on the first privately operated mission to low Earth orbit, known as Inspiration 4. Also, Axiom Space is working with SpaceX to soon fly paying passengers to the International Space Station, the ISS. SpaceX isn't selling individual seats to customers, rather, they are selling flights to individuals or companies that can then sell, auction, or give away these seats. For example, Axiom has purchased several flights on board the Falcon 9 Dragon spacecraft and then sold individual seats to make a profit. It's not known how much Axiom paid SpaceX for their first flight on the Falcon 9 rocket, but it's most likely a negotiated price rather than a set price. I'm guessing the price could be around $100 million. Axiom then sold three of those seats for $55 million each, so they could be making a pretty solid return on their purchase. I considered the possibility that a company like Virgin Galactic could also pursue a business strategy similar to Axiom. Buy a Falcon 9, then sell those seats to make a profit. However, when selling seats for $55 million each, it becomes hard to find customers. In the 2000s, a total of 7 people paid to fly on the Russian-built Soyuz spacecraft capable of traveling to the International Space Station, and one of those customers paid to fly twice. At the same time, the price of a Soyuz seat ranged between $20 to $35 million each. When the space shuttle retired in 2011, the Soyuz became the only vehicle capable of sending humans to the ISS. The Soyuz then gained a monopoly over the human spaceflight industry. The Russians could get away with raising prices, and NASA would still pay to send their astronauts, but private customers stopped coming and orbital tourism came to a sudden stop. Only recently, with SpaceX's introduction of the human-rated Dragon spacecraft, more people have taken interest with privately funded space missions. When Blue Origin auctioned off a ticket to fly on the New Shepard rocket, it was surprising that someone was willing to bid as much as $28 million for a suborbital trip that would only last about 10 minutes. Considering 2 decades ago, $20 million could have gotten you a 10-day trip in orbit on a space station. Jeff Bezos also said Blue Origin sold around $100 million worth of tickets for future space customers. Maybe the demand for suborbital space tourism is much higher than previously expected. A seat on a Virgin Galactic Spaceship 2 is expected to be priced around $250,000. When flights become available to the public, could go up a little bit more. It's still unknown what the final price will be to fly on a Blue Origin rocket, but we can expect tickets will be selling higher than what Virgin Galactic had originally offered. Richard Branson and Virgin Galactic are probably providing a bargain compared to what the market might actually be willing to pay for a suborbital flight, let alone an orbital flight. Suborbital spacecraft like Blue Origin's New Shepard and Virgin Galactic Spaceship 2 have a strong demand because they are far more affordable than the millions of dollars needed to fly on an orbital space vehicle like the Soyuz or the SpaceX Dragon. But it is worth asking, what happens if orbital flight becomes as affordable as suborbital flights? Similar prices, but one offers a far superior experience. Even though suborbital space tourism is still in the early phase, it's not too early to plan for the future. Blue Origin is already building a reusable rocket capable of orbital space travel. At the same time, SpaceX is focused on many projects, including their Super Heavy Starship rocket, with the goal of being fully reusable to lower launch cost. Starship can be used for the Moon, Mars, transferring passengers across the Earth, similar to how airlines operate, and providing human access to orbit, including space tourism. Space tourism only accounts for a small percentage of SpaceX's business, such as their partnership with Axiom. However, demand for space travel could grow. New powerful rockets that aim for reusability and rapid reuse will bring the cost to access orbit down, which will disrupt the space tourism market If Starship successfully dominates orbital capability or Earth to Earth travel, it creates new opportunities for SpaceX, but also hurts the business case for companies involved in suborbital tourism. This is why skeptics have argued that the suborbital capability of Virgin Galactic could become obsolete in a matter of a few years. That's why I want to go over point number one. Virgin Galactic needs to prepare for any future competition. Virgin Galactic's business is built on space tourism, specifically suborbital space travel. If Blue Origin, SpaceX, or another company can eat into the tourism market, then it will hurt the long term growth of Virgin Galactic. If a competitor can offer an orbital flight for the same price, then it will really hurt the company. The market for space tourism will probably be bigger than most expect, but suborbital flights alone will not be enough. To put it simply, Virgin Galactic's suborbital spaceship will have a hard time competing with a human rated space system offering orbital flights at a low enough cost. For example, the SpaceX Starship could disrupt the space travel market if it achieves lower prices for passengers who would otherwise fly on a suborbital vehicle. This is why Virgin Galactic needs to prepare for any potential competition in the future. In order for Virgin Galactic to be competitive, it needs to go beyond suborbital space flights and move towards orbital capabilities and other forms of travel. Virgin Galactic can continue to grow with orbital capability, which is necessary for the long term survival of the company. There are several options to take. First, it could improve its air launch capability to scale up for bigger iterations of spaceships that can go faster and reach higher altitudes. Bigger air launch vehicles are available other than the White Knight 2. However, it would require years of development and funding to build a new spaceship capable of reaching orbit. Virgin Galactic has other options, which could include forming a partnership with SpaceX. Virgin Galactic needs a plan to scale up spacecraft capabilities, and SpaceX is already building its own affordable and reusable Starship, which soon could be sending humans to orbit. The Starship could make Virgin spaceships obsolete within a decade, but if Virgin Galactic has a share in this SpaceX project, that would benefit and grow their company. Virgin Galactic could take a space tourism approach similar to Axiom Space and how they operate. Buy a few seats on a space flight to later resell for a profit. Or, I believe, the best option is for Galactic to buy a starship or to buy a fleet of SpaceX starships. Virgin Galactic could sell Starship tickets to passengers wanting to take a trip to orbit or wanting to fly halfway around the world in under an hour. The Starship could serve as a commercial transport for freight and passengers, or it could offer luxurious cruises in orbit for passengers wanting to look back at the Earth or float around in the weightless environment of space. I think the Starship could complement the success of the spaceship fleet. Virgin Galactic can offer both suborbital flights that are more affordable and then the more expensive orbital flights to paying passengers on Starship. This idea is not as bizarre as it sounds. Airlines purchase their aircraft from manufacturers rather than building them themselves. Virgin Galactic could take an airline approach and operate as a service for space travelers. SpaceX would serve as a manufacturer that would sell starships to Virgin Galactic. Virgin Galactic had taken a similar approach in the company's early years. Burt Rutan's aerospace company, Scaled Composites, originally built and flew the Spaceship One, which Richard Branson would purchase the technology to create the Spaceship Two. Scaled Composites and Virgin Galactic's parent company, the Virgin Group, formed a joint venture known as the Spaceship Company. The Spaceship Company built the next generation of spaceships we know as the Spaceship Two. This partnership allowed Scaled Composites to serve as the manufacturer, and Virgin Galactic could focus on the passenger experience. Virgin Galactic has since become the sole owner of the Spaceship Company. Scaled Composites is a good example of how the manufacturers are willing to sell their technology or vehicles to companies uh, that are willing to start a service for space travel. But why would SpaceX sell to Virgin Galactic? If the Starship has potential to make money for space tourism or fast travel around the Earth, why wouldn't SpaceX just use the Starship completely for themselves? Well, this brings me to point number two. SpaceX needs money to keep growing. SpaceX is burning through cash on development cost for the Starship program. Musk is focused on settling Mars as his top priority for SpaceX. But in order to achieve that, the company must continue to work as a viable business. Remember, Musk wants the Starship to work like a passenger aircraft, a vehicle that can land, refuel, and take off again in a short amount of time, similar to a 737 jet. Building jets is expensive. They can take between 5 to 10 years of daily flights to pay themselves off. I'm assuming the Starship will face similar problems. SpaceX could take a Spaceline approach and start selling flights to passengers with Starship. However, it could be years before a profit is made to cover the expenses. This would have a long term advantage, but I believe Musk would rather have cash sooner than later. I think the better option is to sell a few Starships for some quick cash to be reinvested to advance the program and build better versions of Starship. The access to new capital will allow SpaceX to advance more quickly in its goals of achieving Martian settlement. If SpaceX is willing to sell a few Starships, they can specifically be designed for only passenger use and can't be used to deliver satellites or other payloads to orbit because that could interfere with the business SpaceX wants to remain, uh, wants to have control over. There could be contracts signed stating that these vehicles are only to be used for tourism or Earth to Earth travel. SpaceX will still use Starship for satellite deployments, cargo, space station servicing, lunar landings, travel to Mars, and other operations. SpaceX will only allow Virgin Galactic to have a share of the space passenger market because of an agreement. SpaceX and Virgin Galactic don't have to be competitors. SpaceX can't allow Virgin Galactic to pursue the space tourism market with Starship, while SpaceX can focus on other goals such as Mars. SpaceX could sell Starships to Virgin Galactic for short-term profits, but what if they want to take their long-term direction by operating like a Spaceline service themselves? Sounds good, but there could be some big problems and other risks associated with this. That brings me to point number three. Government laws and regulations may prevent SpaceX from operating as both a spacecraft manufacturer and a spaceline. When the industry changes, we can expect the rules to change too. This is usually how history works. In the early days of aviation, the United States would pay airline companies to deliver mail. In fact, Boeing at one time operated as both an airplane manufacturer as well as an airline service. But after some cases of corruption and conspiracy to monopolize the air industry, government began to regulate it more. The Air Mail Act of 1934 was introduced, which is a law that prevents aircraft manufacturers, such as Boeing, from acting like an airline. So, aircraft manufacturers can't create their own airline. They have to sell their vehicles to airline companies instead. This is why new startup companies like Boom Technology Incorporated is selling their supersonic jets to United Airlines rather than creating their own airline service. So, how would a law like this impact a rocket company? Right now, rocket companies can build, operate, and sell their services without the intervention of any antitrust regulations from the government. But can this last forever? If we expect the space industry to change, we can expect new laws and regulations to prevent monopolies or companies gaining too much of the market. In fact, this is already starting to happen. We can see this in the internet. Politicians are expressing themselves by tweets as a result of the 2021 space race between Bezos and Branson. Politicians have been calling on more regulations and taxes to be placed on startup space tourism companies. So those regulations could be coming. Who knows? That's something that could scare SpaceX. Maybe they wouldn't want to take the risk. Who knows? We'll see. Point number 4, space lines, just like airlines, come with economic difficulties. Also, SpaceX could find some difficulties if it was to directly provide passenger service across the Earth or taking tourists to space. Running an airline is hard. Many companies have gone bankrupt over the years, and we have learned pandemics and recessions don't help. The iconic Pan Am once dominated the skies, but went bankrupt due to the risky economics of air travel. How could spacelines be immune to the same economic difficulties the airlines face? Space tourism is promising, but faces similar challenges. Japanese billionaire Yusaku Maezawa is paying for a Starship flight around the moon, accompanied by several others. He probably paid a pretty nice ticket, but it was probably not enough to cover the cost of R&D associated with Starship's total development. Elon is willing to take plenty of risk, but he doesn't want to risk running out of cash before the Starship program is finished. The Starship program has been making rapid success, but comes at a high financial cost. SpaceX is not a publicly traded company, which means all of the financials are private, which in turn makes it difficult to estimate the expenses associated with Starship. Plus, SpaceX doesn't have the experience with airline travel. My guess is Elon Musk would rather have cash sooner than later. Like I said before, SpaceX needs money to grow. Selling Starships seems like the best strategy. Access to quick cash, they can build flight experience carried out by other partners. SpaceX could still oversee those operations, contribute in other maintenance and development, maybe even get a share of that revenue for its business. But why, if SpaceX wants to sell Starships, out of all the companies they could sell to, why sell to Virgin Galactic? Well, the bigger question is who's willing to invest in Starship? Who's willing to buy into it? Honestly, I think there's only one person, and that's Richard Branson. Point number 5, Richard Branson and Virgin are willing to take a risk. When SpaceX presented its Earth to Earth transportation idea, I saw that as an offer to the airline industry or others to invest in this program. Musk knew it was a far out concept and that SpaceX was probably not ready to pursue it on its own. But if they found investors willing to take a risk, that would allow more funding to accelerate the overall Starship program. But who is willing to invest in the idea of passenger Starship? Someone who sees a market in both space travel and already has the experience in the transportation industry, including air and space. Richard Branson is your man, and Branson has billions of dollars and the power of his conglomerate empire, the Virgin Group. The Virgin Group has experience in customer service and travel, which could assist in a new Starship transportation system. Virgin could share some of the risk, which brings in a global revenue of more than $22 billion annually. Revenue that could easily help fund or buy a few Starships, even though Virgin Galactic is publicly traded. The Virgin Group still holds 24% of the company that allows it to make big decisions in its future. In a way, Virgin Galactic serves as Virgin Group's skunkworks, an R&D company that tests new technologies built for both air and space travel. Virgin Galactic already has a memorandum of understanding with Rolls-Royce to design a Mach 3 supersonic aircraft for high-speed travel that could easily help go towards Virgin Atlantic's airline fleet. It makes sense to expand the business with new technologies that transfer passengers faster. They might be more willing to take a risk with Starship if it could grant a huge advantage over the competition. So, the Virgin Group could buy a few Starships, be partially invested, or try to create a joint venture with SpaceX. There are many different directions they could take, but the overall goal is having access to use Starship. Also noted, Starship ownership could help in Virgin Orbit's business if SpaceX allows it. Otherwise, Virgin Orbit's Launcher 1 will stick with the satellite deployment if Starship cannot be used. Branson is a risk taker. He's willing to put his own life in danger just to grow the Virgin brand. Plus, him and Musk seem to have a good relationship that could create a strong business partnership. Musk has a ticket to one day fly on a Virgin Galactic spaceship, and Branson once took Musk to dinner expressing interest in buying the Merlin engines for use on Virgin Galactic vehicles. I think Musk sees he could have a strong partnership with Branson. Here's a guy with money willing to take risks and fly on board a spaceship built by the company he founded. Branson is a visionary just like Musk. He is also willing to take on new ideas like he did with the founding of Virgin Galactic. Branson was also willing to invest in Burt Rutan's idea of space travel. I feel like he sees real potential in working with Musk. Branson's willingness to invest in Musk's vision could take Virgin Galactic to new heights. As for Musk's appearance at Spaceport America, it may have been more than a show of support for Branson's spaceflight. It could also have been the start of a great business partnership that could expand the Virgin Empire and fund SpaceX ambitions to get to Mars. Of course, this is all speculation. I could be completely wrong. This could just be a simple friendship between Musk and Branson, but Musk takes on crazy ideas, and Branson is probably crazy enough to join him. Before this can happen, SpaceX needs to get Starship to orbit, and Virgin Galactic needs to get those commercial flights operational. I remain optimistic, and I believe both companies will continue to grow. And once those happen, some interesting stuff is going to start to happen throughout this decade. And I'm super excited. I hope you are too. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't. I will provide new content on the space industry. I'll keep you up to date. I'll present new ideas. And but you got to be subscribed to get that content. But I'll see you next time. Thanks.